we're discussing the period, the way the world will look before Moshiach, and we've been saying that it will be characterized by a state of great confusion. So much so that Rav Yochanan said in Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadiches Amud Aleph, put me in any generation, but don't put me in the generation of Mashiach. The confusion is going to be too great. There'll be such a, a dearth of clarity. And as we come closer and closer to the Yontif of Purim, it's important to know that Haman Amaleki, his character, his principal attribute is Safek, right? In fact, Amalek is Gematria, Has Safek. Amalek says, you could say like this, you could say like that, maybe like this, maybe like that. Who says God exists? Who says that God created the world? Who says God makes miracles? Etc., etc., etc. And if we want to be from the fifth, who are Zoiche, to be Kayim, to see Pnei Mashiach, and to survive that period. So one of the major things that we have to do is, to the best of our ability, to eliminate confusion and suffix in our life. And the way to do that really is to attain clarity, is to attain as much clarity as possible. And the main points that we need to attain clarity on, which are Amunah, Yud Gimel Ikrim, Sheish Mitzvahs Timidios. Yeah. These Ikrei Hadas, to have absolute clarity, like this. Rav Chatzkel Levitin explained about Moshe Rabbeinu. It says about Moshe Rabbeinu, Yidei Moshe Amunim Heim, right, when he was fighting the war with Amalek, in fact. Yeah. And Rav Chatzkel Levitin said he had Amun in his hands. It was so clear to him. Shach, when he was older, he would look at his fingers and move his hands and say, it's the Borei Olam. Like, how do you do that? Right? A person has to have such a clarity in Amunah that he can see Amun in his hands, from the movement of his hands, from his body. As Eov said, "Mi basari echse Elokai," from my flesh, I see the Borei Olam. If a person walks through life, he goes through life with an absolute clarity in everything that's Kadosh Baruch Hu. He sees Kadosh Baruch Hu every place he turns, and especially as I sit here in the coastal Moravi, and you see what's going on. My son is telling me in the old city, the past week there have been numerous attacks, and Piguim, Baruch Hashem, nobody was killed. But when you experience this and we see this, we have to have an absolute clarity. Yedei Moshe Amunim Heim. And that's really what we need as we come into the Yontif of Purim, and especially when we're in a period which is characterized by so much confusion. Nobody knows tomorrow what's going to be. Nobody knows what's going to happen with the world, with Russia, with Ukraine, with anything. Nobody knows. And since we don't know, so there's only one address. We have to make every effort possible to get absolute clarity. And really, the way that you do that is just to go over things and over again until it becomes instilled within our hearts. Right? And this is what the Ibis, in fact, said. Right? The Ibis was from the Gushe Sfard, from the Spanish Inquisition. He said the people who had Emunah Pshuta clear, right? The people who had Emunah Pshuta clear, those were the people that survived the Inquisition and held on to their Yiddishkeit. They were able to maintain, in the face of adversity, their Shmir Satar and Mitzvahs. But the people who didn't have Emunah Pshuta, who didn't have clear Emunah, they suffered, and either they gave it up or whatever else happened to these the Jews in Spain. And if there's one person in our generation who characterizes Emunah, who lives Emunah, who Yidei Moshe Amunim Heim, right, is one of the living Talmidim of Rav Chatzkel Levenstein, and I speak about Rav Gershon Edelstein. If you read his parsha sheets every week, you'll see Yidei Moshe, Yidei Gershon, Emunim Heim, right? Over and over he goes over the Ikrei Emunah, that which we have to do, and especially during these times he's repeating over and over again, get Emunah clear. learn Musar every day. He says it almost every week. He says, if you want to have a happy home, if you want to have a healthy home, if you want a home which resonates with joy, where people are singing and dancing because they're so happy about their practice of Torah, then work on Musar and work on strengthening the moon in your house. If you have a chance at the Shabbos table to talk about politics or business or don't. Talk instead about Amunah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, how much chesed He does for us. Yeah. Um, Talk about Hashgacha Pratis in your life, incredible events that happen to you. Not even incredible events, simple things that happen to you, just throughout the course of the day. I know yesterday I got a ride to the coastal and I forgot something. I had to go home, and because of that, I did this, and because of this happens. You see how sometimes the Kadosh Baruch Hu rolls out the Hashgacha Pratis to the point where um, you just see how clearly. Yeah, you see how clearly. They asked, in fact, Rav Chaim Brisker when he was a young child, and I think he was 6 years old. They say, "Where is Hashem?" He says, "Wherever you let Him in. Wherever you let Him in. If you let Hashem into your heart, He's there. But you have to let Him in, right?" And there's so many ideologies, philosophies, ideas that are just like out there trying to get into our hearts. I spoke to someone yesterday in America. It was about raising money for Stuck, and he said, "Do you know how many hundreds and hundreds of people are contacting me about Stuck in Yana?" I said, "Okay, it'll be one more, right?" But Lamaisa, it's the same thing by ideologies. We're being bombarded today, right? Through emails, through text messages, through WhatsApp, right? Through media, whatever it might be. We're being bombarded by ideologies, right? And really, under such circumstances, the way to survive is to make a wall and say, Adkan, this is what I let in, and everything else stays out. And this such a person, yeah, the person who reads Rav Gershon Edelstein's Parsha sheet, also Rav Moshe Sternbach's Parsha sheet, right? And of course, you can get them by writing to me at dytravis613 @gmail.com, and I will sign you up for either of these Parsha sheets. They're both very, very excellent. And I recommend very highly Rav Gershon Edelstein's Parsha sheet in English. And anything else you could do. If there's a Rav who gives shirim and they strengthen your emunah, my wife and I recently started listening on Tiny Time to Rabbi Bragg. Yeah, he gives shirim on emunah and bitachon, and Rav Noach Olbaum, and many, many other speakers, right? Rav Elimelech Biederman, whoever you find who can strengthen your emunah, grab them and just listen to them and don't let go, because this will pull you into the Tekufa, Mashiach again. I end with this point. I'm not saying Mashiach is coming now, right? What we have now as a situation is an auspicious time. In auspicious time, we're all obligated to strengthen ourselves in Torah and Gemilas Chasadim. We said Torah is learning without Torah, without interruption, right? Strengthen yourself in Emunah, and Gemilas Chasadim means caring about people, thinking about people as much as possible, to think about other people, and these will be the tools that we can have to come into the Kufa of Moshiach. Amen.